Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Tour here, and today's episode will be my chapter read through for My Hero Academia chapter 289. Now, this video, it's being recorded on the Sunday, so 2 days after it's been released, and almost 20 hours after it was normally on my channel. So, I didn't have time to record this Friday, and I was out all day Saturday, so even if I was going to do the editing like last week, this would be out late, likely at the same time. So, I just want to say before I start, I haven't decided whether I'm going to be editing the names onto the site and all that, because that took a long time. I don't know whether it's just me because I'm not used to editing, or if editing normally takes that long, but it took a long time. And then of course there was the encoding and all that, which took about 5.5 hours. So yeah, either this will come out at 4 a.m. on Monday, or it'll be out maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Anyway, this chapter starts with the flying heroes rushing towards the hospital, or what was once the hospital. These are the heroes that were told in the last chapter to go tell the people at the hospital what's happening in terms of Gigantomachia. And we see Nijire, we see two heroes flying along on surfboards, sort of like Silver Surfer, and we see Ingenium. And the text says, sometime after the plan to stop Gigantomachia was set in place. Hey Ingenium, why'd you tag along? It flashes back to the people relaying the order to the flying heroes. Since you guys can fly freely, we request that you act as messengers. Please inform the heroes at the hospital of our current predicament. Ida says, I shall accompany them as well. But hey, wait up! It flashes back to the current time, with Ida telling Nejire, if it's a matter of breaking the rules, I will accept any penalty. But of the 3 classmates that went, none of them have come back. And among those 3, those who have rescued me time and time again, obviously thinking back to Midoriya and Shoto with Stain, and the ways in which all 3 of them have helped the entire class, or Ida personally, in terms of villain attacks. We then jump back to the battlefield of Midoriya and Shigaraki as the 2 of them are falling from the sky. We see Midoriya being caught by Todoroki, who still has Endeavor in his right arm and Bakugo in his left arm. So, not having any more arms to catch Midoriya with, he decides to fly horizontally, catch Midoriya square on his back, and they begin to fall out down from the weight and the impact. So, he locks Midoriya in with his left foot, as his right foot is the only thing that was keeping them afloat. And they all crash into the ground. Shoto jumps to his feet and looks between his friends. It's like, Bakugo, Midoriya, and Dev. Ha! They're still alive. Hang in there, you guys. We will take care of. And then he hears a fizzling sound in the background. He turns around with a shocked look on his face. Midoriya looks up angrily, and Endeavor is just sitting there with a look of like he can't believe it. And what they're looking at is Shigaraki. He also managed to catch himself as he was falling out of the sky. But he didn't land on the ground. He's holding himself up like Doc Ock, using the Force Quirk activation tendrils to lift himself into the air, as you hear his voice talking to himself, saying, "Tomura, stop it! Step down!" But that's the end of what we hear from All for One, as Shigaraki's true voice cuts back in and says, "You can't tell me what to do." As he's saying this, however, two massive blasts come from off screen, shattering some of these force activation tendrils. As Shigaraki begins to topple to the ground again. Endeavor and Shoto look off to the side, and they see that it's Nejire who's shot those beams. And Ingenium pulls a Captain America and rushes up on Shoto's left. He says, "A giant villain is approaching the vicinity. We have hereby informed the heroes engaging in combat with the Noda." Manuel turns around and he sees who's talking. He says, "Ida." But before he can say any more, Shoto says, "Ida, great timing. Get the casualties out of here." "Christ, this is why you haven't returned." We then see Nejire look to Manuel, and she sees just how badly her mentor has been damaged, as Manuel is helping walk Ryukyu away from the scene. And this angers Nejire massively, who, for the first time, not even in the overhaul arc, she gets angry. Of course, it's still an adorable pout, but you can see that there's anger. Midoriya cuts in and is like, "I have to stick to Shigaraki. He's still after me. Just take Gachon and Endeavor." Shoto notices his regeneration has slowed. We can take him out. Hado senpai. But Shigaraki, he won't go down without a fight still. "Maggots swarming by the thousands." Obviously referring to the heroes who are all still coming. Despite how many he takes out, there's still more heroes coming. But that's all we see of that fight for now, as we cut back to a different battle. Toga and Uraraka. And we see that it's picking up where the last chapter left off. But Toga's no longer got the upper hand, as Uraraka uses her gunhead training to throw Toga off. She gets to her feet and says, "Sorry about this, but I've gotten stronger since we last met." And we see that she managed to touch Toga's sweater arm as it's floating her arm up. And she thinks to herself, "If I can manage to touch her body, but I need to be careful about spilling any blood. We don't have much time here. How should I..." But her chain of thought is interrupted by Toga giving a little exposition. "Here's the thing about me, Ochako-chan. Whenever I think about people I like, I just feel the desire to become like them. And I end up not being able to resist the temptation to drain all of their blood." As she's saying this, she's trying to run further deeper into the house with Uraraka in pursuit. "It gets my heart pounding like crazy, but others don't like me. They don't think like me. So it's super hard to have it my way. A while ago, there was a person who tried to kill me, while telling me how much she pitied what my normal life was. So, Transformers you, I was able to access your quirk, and I dropped her to her death. Turns out I can use the quirks of those I like. Isn't that wonderful? That made me super happy. This realization angers Uraraka, who shoots out 2 grappling hooks from her arm in a punching motion as she screams Toga's name. Now, I never noticed this, but Uraraka has 4 grappling hooks per hand, because her little gauntlet has a hole here, 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 and here, so 1 each cross direction from her central wrist. And to counteract this grappling throw, Toga throws 3 of her syringes, one of which has a glancing blow against Uraraka's belt. This impact sent Uraraka flying into the wall, and Toga says, "Stop this." To which Uraraka replies, "I would never feel so elated about dropping someone to their death. What are you? What is it you're even trying to say to me?" But Toga, she isn't listening anymore. She's noticed something on the ground, and as she bends down to pick it up, Uraraka realizes what it was as well. That glancing blow to her belt opened a compartment, and out fell the All Might figurine that Midoriya gave her for Christmas. Toga picked this up and says, "Looks like you dropped something here. That's something important to you?" "Yes. You know, Jin-kun was someone important to me, too. Looks like we're the same, Ochaka-chan. Ochaka-chan likes Izuku-kun as well, right?" "I knew all along. So this is Izuku-kun's?" "We really are alike." And as she's saying this, she takes a bite of the little doll. She doesn't tear it, but for some reason she just starts gnawing on it. And Uraraka thinks to herself, "There's no time to waste. She'll only dodge me when I try to tackle her head on." Then, as she realizes a plan, she says, "That belongs to me," and she shoots out all 8 of her grappling hooks to connect to the debris and household items that she's been touching with her quirk as she was following Toga through the building. And she uses her newest super move, 0 satellites. Toga thinks to herself, she used her quirk stumbling throughout the room. And she says, as dodging the swings from these floating objects, she's like, "That's right. Truth is, I've been holding back this entire time. They kept telling me to hold back when I was young, but I couldn't hold back. This desire of mine belongs to me. Toga Himiko, if your lifestyle of hurting others is irresistible to you, I'll have to take responsibility for your actions." "Yeah, you're right. Thanks. Bye-bye." Toga pulls out all of her knives. There seems to be about 4 of them. And she prepares to throw them at Uraraka. But just as she's aiming, suddenly she's hit by something bursting through the door. And in comes Froppy. "Why is Himiko Toga here?" "Su-chan, to think I almost left you behind." And seeing that she's now outnumbered, we actually get to see the lesser used part of Toga's quirk in action. Because in one frame, she's there, and in the next, she's not. And this confuses the girls, and Froppy says, She disappeared. She could be aiming for our blind spots. Let's watch each other's backs. But Uraka says, no, she ran away. As Uga is running away, we hear a news report saying, unstoppable. The huge villain is getting even bigger. No, stop. As our video feed is cut, our signal. Ochako-chan, I used to think of us as both girls who loved the same person, and wondered if we could talk someday about love together. I'm coming back, guys. I've gotten my answer. And Uraka says, as the last panel of this part of the chapter, she was crying. We cut back to the battlefield as the buildings that are still standing in the near distance begin to shake, and a pounding is heard. It starts off softly, but it gets louder each time it's heard. And we see Shoto, Tenya, Nejire, and Shigaraki all turn to their side as we see Gigantomachia in sight. The final page of this chapter is a double-page spread of several people's reactions. We see Gigantomachia. He looks happy, and the part of his jaw that then became his visor is now up on his forehead. We see Shoto looking worried and scared. We see Darby looking smug, and he's like, I'm here now. We see Midoriya still absolutely pissed. We see Endeavor wearing a similar face to his son, though he's more anger than worried, but he's still scared. Nejire, she's also angry, but she doesn't really seem scared of this. What we can see of Tenya's face is the emotive eyepieces, and they're wide open in shock. And the final reaction is Shigaraki, and he's smiling once again. Anyway, this was... I say this every time, but this was a good chapter. But, we sort of knew that... I knew Shigaraki wasn't going to run away like, All For One told him. So the fact that he uses the quirk activation tendrils to keep himself standing, rather than having to support his own weight with his tired body, is not a surprise to me. What is a surprise is sort of the pained way he was talking, similar to Midoriya. I'm also surprised, but in another way not surprised, that Ida made his way to the battlefield. Like, on one hand, yeah, he's supposed to be the rational person, and he knows he can't fly, and if Shigaraki touches the ground, he's dead. But on the other hand, he needs to save his friends. They've saved him way too many times for him to just stand by and not try. But it seems as though the next chapter, there won't be much, well, for the rest of this fight, there won't really be much from, like, Endeavor, who's burnt out and injured, Bakugo, who's been impaled in a couple places and also knocked out, and Midoriya, who doesn't have use of his arms and also is extremely beaten down. So it looks as though the people on the front lines are Nejire, Ida, and Shoto, which, considering that if it was just Shigaraki there, they may have stood a chance. But, well, Now the entire league's there, and Gigantomachia, and yeah, I just can't say that they stand a chance. I do reckon that Ida will take, like, force Midoriya to stay back, like, just forcefully grab him and Bakugo in the first trip, run them away, run back and take the others, but I reckon Midoriya is still going to find his way back somehow, right at the end. Also, this is funny for me, but you guys likely won't see it because, like I've said, I used a off-brand translator site, but when Shoto's telling Ida to get the casualties away, whoever wrote in the translated bubbles, they wrote it later, which is a big mistake a lot of people make because they read the first I as a lowercase l. The problem is that in the panel directly above it, it's spelled correctly, so I don't know what happened there. My final piece of discussion about this chapter is what's going through Toga's head, because, well, she had a couple of really weird facial expressions throughout this chapter because when Uraraka says, I'd never feel so elated to dropping someone to their death, like, she's telling you that I wouldn't be happy about having to kill someone. I wouldn't be happy about killing someone at all. So, and what are you even trying to say to me? Like, Toga, she's trying to say that part of me is compelled by my quirk to drain people's blood. It has an unconscious drive in my actions. And I can't fight that anymore. I tried fighting it and it only grew stronger. And, well, that was the first time I killed someone. That's basically what she's trying to say. But the way in which she's saying it is saying it without actually admitting that she's not fully in control of it. Until she's like, we're the same. You're more like me than even I thought. And she says, and then she says, I've been told to hold back, to not use my quirk, but I couldn't hold it back anymore. To which Uraraka says, if you can't control your actions, then it's up to me to take control of them for you, to stop you from doing these things. And I'm pretty sure that may have been misinterpreted by Toga, because it's the next panel where she actively pulls out her knives to kill Uraraka with tears in her eyes. And then she says she's gotten her answer, so I think she may have misinterpreted to that as, if you don't stop this, I'll do what I have to. And that wasn't what she was meaning, but I can see how it can be misinterpreted like that. Anyway, that was the end of this chapter's discussion. And, well, I can see this arc ending really soon. And I have no idea what the future arc is going to be, because the one thing I keep remembering at the end of each chapter is, what is going to happen to Shinzo? Because after this, basically, there's not going to be a UA. There's no way they're going to be able to keep open after they've used their students on the front lines. They've used first year students on the front line. Like, they will be shut down by the government. Shinzo, he was meant to be in the hero course, starting within a month of these events happening, because it was the end of the towards the end of the second semester. It was December, and after that we jumped forward 3 months, so it will be near the start of their second year at the point of this war, and that's when Shinzo was meant to join the hero course. So what's going to happen to him if there's no hero course for him to join? Because we know he's going to play an important part in future events, but anyway, that's it for this video. If you liked the voices I put on, if you want me to stop doing them, if you have any other interesting things that you've noticed about this chapter that I didn't talk about, comment them down below. I'd love to discuss them with you, and I'll catch you in the next one.